Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. This video is to cover the fa'il form with weak letters, whether they be in the middle, the beginning, or in the end, and also to cover the concept of the bedel that we've taken in class. So changing weak letters to the fa'il form. Again, we've mentioned that the weak letter can come in three places, and by weak letters we primarily mean the waw and the ya. Although aleph is considered a weak letter, it won't begin a word. What's often referred to as an aleph is really a hamza, and it has its own rules. So we'll be looking at words that begin with a waw or with a ya. Now, the first situation is when the weak letter comes in the beginning. And that's the easiest situation because when it comes in the beginning, it's treated just like a normal word. So with wajada, for example, we're going to add the aleph after the first letter, the kesra on the second letter, we get wajidun, okay, or wajid. And again, I didn't put the two dhammas on the dal, but you know they're there because we're dealing with an ism. And the basic rule of an ism is that it's going to take two dhammas at the end unless there's a reason why it can't or won't. Wathiqa, again we add the aleph after the first letter, the kesra on the second letter, the dhammatan on the final letter. The word that we get is wathiq. Wasala, we add an aleph after the first letter, a kesra on the second letter. Our word is wasil. Okay, so that one's fairly simple. The second situation is where the weak letter comes in the middle. Now remember, when the weak letter comes in the middle of a verb, you're going to see it as an aleph. That aleph is representative of either a waw or a ya because aleph is not really its own letter. It's not really a letter. It's really only used for elongation purposes. Okay? So when it's in the middle, you really don't need to find out if it's an aleph or if it's a ya or a waw, because it's really not going to make a difference as to how we treat it. That will, however, be important in terms of finding the letter in the dictionary. And so until you become accustomed with those words, you're going to need to look up the word in both places. So if we're looking up sauna, we would look up saw waw noon or saw ya noon and see where we found the word. For qala, it would be qa waw lam or qaf ya lam until we found the word. And the same for dana, da waw noon or da ya noon. And in certain instances, there might be one word that actually has a waw in the middle and another word that has a ya in the middle, and they have two different meanings. So it's important to keep that in mind. So when we look at dana, okay, aleph in the middle, again, it doesn't matter whether it's a waw or a ya, we're going to treat it the same way. So the actual middle letter is a ya. So the original way it would be written under normal circumstances would be aleph after the first letter, kesra on that ya, and then dhammatan on the noon. However, when it comes in the middle, we change that weak letter into a hamza that sits on a ya or sits on what they call a kursi or whatever. It sits on like a line, okay? And so how that's going to look in the end is like this. Okay, so that's how you'd have to write it, and our word is da'in. Da'in. Okay, so when we look at our next word, which is qala, the middle letter is a waw. So again, you're going to put an aleph on the first letter under normal circumstances. That waw would take a kesra, and then you would have dhammatan on the lam. So it would become qawilun. But again, that middle letter is going to take a hamza sitting on a ya. So it's going to look like this, qa'ilun. Qa'ilun. You'll have to forgive our background noise. We got some carpentry going on, some cutting of wood. So you'll just have to bear patiently with us, inshallah. Hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. Good things are going on at the masjid, alhamdulillah. So here we have sauna. And sauna, again, the middle letter is going to be a waw. So the original word, we put that aleph there, kesra on the waw, it would be sawinun, sawinun. But we're going to change that waw, we're going to change it to a hamza with a kesra. And then the ending letter will be the same, so it becomes sa'inun. It becomes sa'inun. Okay, so that's how you deal with the weak letter. Always, whether it's a waw or a ya, it's going to become a hamza on top of a ya-like line. Now here, my computer program, it's writing the kesra beneath the letter altogether. Sometimes you'll actually see it right under the hamza, and that's okay. So you want to make sure you look for that, because that's going to affect how you pronounce things. Because you might not see it right there, and you might pronounce it as an ah, and you want to be careful not to do that. Because well, we won't get into that. We'll get into that in level 3, inshallah, or level 1C. Now, how do we deal with it when it comes in the end? Okay, so again, now here's what happens. We have the tala, and we said that alif mamduda actually means that there's a waw there. Now, because of this kesra, okay, that waw can't stay there, because the kesra, the harakat, the weak letters, they're so weak they're easily affected by the harakat that come in front of them. And so here, because we have a kesra, the weak letter that goes with the kesra is a ya. The weak letter that goes with the dhamma is a waw, and they kind of look like each other. Okay, and the weak letter that goes with a fatha is an alif. And so even though we're supposed to have a waw, we change that waw to a ya, okay, to go with this kesra. Now, what we're supposed to say is ta-li-wun. Ta-li-wun, okay? But we changed that waw to a ya to go with the kesra. So then it's supposed to be ta-li-yun. Ta-li-yun. That's what it should be. But what happens is, as we've said, that ya is an elongation letter. And so it wants to say tali, elongate. But the form says we're supposed to say taliyun. And so now there's a conflict. There's a conflict between what the ya is inclined to do, which is elongate that kesra, and between what it's supposed to do, which is to have a dhamma at the end. Okay? So we can't resolve that conflict because there's only one ya. There's not two. Remember, in the maf'ul form, there were actually two weak letters. So we could maintain it where there was one sukoon on one and there was a dhamma 10 on the other. We can't do that here because there's only one. And so because we can't resolve this conflict, the conflict of elongation and the conflict of the form, then we drop the letters all together. And we preserve that tanween, but as a kesra. So it becomes talin. Okay? We drop the ya here because there were two things that the ya was trying to do. And each one, it's inclined to, it's supposed to do. So it's supposed to elongate a kesra, and it's supposed to have two dhammas because of the form. But we can't do both because we only have one. And so because we cannot resolve that conflict, then we dropped the ya altogether. There's only one ya. We dropped the ya altogether, and we show the tanween on the lam because the lam doesn't have a problem taking tanween and being elongated. Now, when we add the alif lam here to the front of this word, so it was talin in the general form, or when general, when it was supposed to take the tanween. When we add the alif lam, then we bring the ya back and we allow it to simply elongate. Why? Because now we cannot put two dhammas, we cannot have tanween because of the alif lam. And so we allow it to do the one job that it can do, which is elongate. And so here we say atali. Atali. It's not taliyun. It's atali because we cannot have tanween because of the alif lam. And so the other job that it wanted to do was elongate. And now, because we don't have the conflict anymore, we can allow it to do that. Okay, so let's look at another word, excuse me. So here we have nafa, which is an alif maqsura. We said that alif maqsura, or the shortened alif, is indicative of a ya. So again, we would put the aleph after the first letter, the kesra on the second letter. Now here we have an actual ya that's a part of the original letter, but again, we have the same conflict. What is this ya going to do? For the form, we needed to take two dhammas. So we would say nafiyun. But because the kesra is there, it's inclined to elongate and just simply say nafi. Both of those are pulling at it strongly. The dhammatan are pulling because of the form strongly. You're in this form, you need to conform. The elongation here is pulling as well, because that's what it's supposed to do when the kesra is around. So because we cannot dissolve that conflict, and because that right is so strong, imagine it being pulled between two parents, between a mother and a father. So here the state just takes custody, drops both of their claims. That's a horrible example, isn't it? I'm sorry. But you just drop both of them and you're left with the two kesras. So you have nafin. Okay? So we could not keep the ya as in either position. There's only one ya that we had. Remember, for the maf'ul form, we have two yas, which is why we can make the un sound at the end, because we have both of them combined together, which is indicated by that shidda, or that shadda that looks like a W, which indicates that there are two letters there. Here there's only one letter, but two jobs. And so because we can't do either job, it's impossible, because we're being pulled both ways. Then we just drop the letters. We just drop the letter altogether. But then when we add alif lam, then we bring the ya back. It's not going to have, we don't have the conflict anymore, simply because it cannot take two dhammas now because of the alif lam. So all it has to worry about is elongating, and that's what it does. An-nafi. An-nafi. That's with alif lam. Without the alif lam, then the tanween conflict exists, and so we drop the ya altogether. The last one that we're going to do is nesiya. For nesiya, again, here we have a clear ya. It's not an alif maqsura, but the rules are the same. So we have the noon with the alif, followed by the sin with the kesra. That ya, again, is being pulled between two jobs. Should it elongate with the sukoon, or should it have dhammatan and make the un sound to go with the form fa'ilun? Okay, so because it cannot resolve that conflict, then it simply drops the ya, gets rid of the problem, and we use nasin. Okay, when we add alif lam to the word, we bring the ya back. Why? Because since we cannot use tanween, we cannot use the the two dhammas with alif lam, then this conflict no longer exists. This is not an option anymore. This is the only option we have, and so that's what we use. Even if we don't write the sukoon on top of it, there is a sukoon there. Okay? And I didn't write the kesra either, because the form indicates that there's a kesra. There's no need for me to write it, but if I wrote it, wouldn't be a